Can hear me okay with this? Let's see if that works. Welcome to today's live Mystic Q&A. My name's Fola, and this conversation, the topic of today is all about spiritual awakening, the spiritual emergence journey, all that fun stuff. If you've been following for the last little bit, we've been kind of diving deep into these conversations, really trying to get like a hold of like, what does it even mean to go through spiritual awakening? Because to me that term is very much like this and one of those other like spiritual fluff conversations, a topic that you see around a lot, and it obviously can mean a lot of different things for people. So I am inviting you, before we start here today, for you to just enter into this space, letting go of any of your expectations of what this needs to look like for you, letting go of the things that you have maybe held on to as truths, or the patterns that need to kind of be in alignment with this concept of spiritual awakening. And just, come from, or with a clean slate, as you will, because I think that's ultimately the whole point of this experience of waking up. It's like starting fresh, starting new. So I have some questions here I'm gonna cover. And if you have any questions or you have your thoughts, obviously put them in the chat. I'm gonna do my best to tune into that. As you can see, I'm in a very different environment today. This is what happens when family is visiting. So I am at the beach and it's wonderful. And it's also a little more lively than the usual studio space. So bear with me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And we'll see what wants to show up. So first off, spiritual awakening, spiritual emergence. What are the most common symptoms or ways in which it could maybe show up? So when I was doing my, going through my experience, if you didn't see that video, this was around 2016. I was working as a psychiatric nurse, and my whole role was to support people in crisis, with their mental health or addiction issues. And I had something happen to me that kind of like just sparked this awakening, this shift in my perception of the reality, a shift in how I was perceiving myself and the world around me, my beliefs, and so forth. But at that time, I was working with people also who had experiences in really severe mental health situations, and people who were almost like what I would identify as misdiagnosed. Their experiences in the normal, regular world that we live in didn't really have a framework or a language in which to understand them. And so often this happened around like very spiritual or religious experiences that people were having, ways that they were describing what was going on for them. It was like in psychiatry, we just kind of label it as, if it's other than this normal perception, then it's not real, it's hallucinatory, it's delusion, etc. So that's a little bit of the background, by the way, wondering like who I am, why maybe I'm coming from this place. But it started at that point for me to really want to explore what it was that was going on for people and how that was actually applying to like our journey in this lifetime. And what I started to realize is that there's sort of like, there's different layers to the whole like awakening process. For some people, it can be very subtle and gentle, and you see number synchronicities, patterns and numbers, patterns in the signs that are showing up in your world. Great. And that can happen at a very like subtle level where it's just, oh, okay, look, I keep seeing 437 on my screen. Or when I look at technology, like, I wonder what that means. I look up an angel number, great. But for some people in like a crisis situation, it could get even deeper than that, where, God is speaking directly to them. And so there's layers of like spiritual emergence to the point of spiritual emergency, where a person can just not function. And having worked with a lot of people in that like one end of the spectrum, I realize, okay, there's a time and place for the support there. And I'm not saying every mental health label or diagnosis or experience is a spiritual emergence or spiritual emergency, but that there's like a layer here that we need to like be conscious of and consider, especially when we're talking about different cultural groups, different spiritual or religious groups. Hello, everyone in the comments, by the way. I'm not ignoring you. If you have questions about this topic, let me know in the chat. So the common signs, though, I would say, the ones that, like, some that I experienced personally, some that I would say are common in the various people that I've worked with, supported, held space for, I wanted to break them down into like 3 different kind of categories. You could do 4, which, you know, the shaman in me would be like, yeah, like the medicine wheel. There's something about the 4 directions, the completeness. But first off, we would say the body. So for me, it really started to show up with like sensations of tingling, different sensations of either pain or even pleasure, because those 2 are very much connected. And then just like starting to notice like numbing or tingling, cool, heat in very particular scenarios. One example I'll give is like when I was getting or going to calls, say, what I started to notice was people who are using substances, they have like somehow expanded their crown chakra, and I would pick up on that instantly. Even if someone was like, oh, no, I don't use drugs, but it was clearly evident they were using something. It's like I didn't even have to hear their response to that question, because it's like as soon as I walked in, I was starting to pick up on, whoa, like the crown, this part is just open. I would see it as like a funnel or a vortex of energy moving down from like way above into the person's like brain. And to me, this was like my body's response to my ability to pick up on energy. Because to me, spiritual emergence, the awakening process, is really you tuning in to this world around you in deeper, more profound ways. So this tingling, the sensations, it can show up in so many different ways for people. You may get tingling in certain parts of your body, or like, you know, certain parts of your body might light up when someone else is experiencing something, and you start to like link or sync with them. It just really depends on you. And one thing, and all these symptoms really do, something I would encourage people, especially when I teach Reiki, is to learn what your like encyclopedia or dictionary is, of knowing what the energy signatures or sensations, symptoms, whatever you're picking up on, because it usually is consistent, or you're developing a way of reading it, okay? So what do you need for this? Like, what do you need to support you with that? I think, like I just said, learning to understand what it is, learning to really pick up on when those things show up, if there's certain scenarios that make it more intense or not, and then obviously setting boundaries, right? Certain physical energetics can be shifted with like crystals and all that stuff. I talk a lot about more the ritualistic practices, obviously, to clear your energy. Because what happens, remember, is your physical body is kind of like the last place where something is going to manifest, or where you are going to see or know what is happening to you. Everything else, the other layers of your energetic bodies, which it's still a body, right? It's going to be at an unseen, well, unless you see energy, but it's going to be less than this like tangible place. Okay, you are going to pick up on it in a different way, most likely, and that's where the development of the clairs come in, the clairsentience, clairaudience, etc. But if you're finding your energy level, because fatigue, tiredness, that stuff is very common, it's like learning how to set boundaries, navigate what's showing up, tune into different practices, crystals, rituals, salt baths, whatever that will support you, okay? For women, I want to just talk about the fatigue level. Really is, I think, in the spiritual experience, a way for you to learn how to be in sync with your cycles. the cycle of your body, right? Because we go through menstrual cycle, we literally follow the moon, but also that of like the moon, okay? It's like a deeper connection to a spiritual aspect, a spiritual understanding of what's going on, how this universe operates. So ways in which you can really support some of that stuff is learning to honor your body, learn about the cycles, learn about the moon, learn about how it is that you can tune into that stuff with more somatic practices. Obviously, things like breath work are huge, which is kind of cool considering it's just the breath. Like, it's the most simplest thing that we just do naturally. You don't even have to think about it. But when you can intentionally connect to breath, when you can intentionally connect to body, then so much healing, transformation, the transmutation of certain energies can be possible. Stretching, fascia work, anything deep in the muscles, in the cells of your body is going to help bring that stuff. I mentioned how everything kind of starts at that deeper energetic level and then it manifests in the physical body. When we do energy work, such as like even massage, somatic practices, what happens is it starts to move the things that are the energy that is inside your cells. And if you think about it, energy that's been passed on through generations. This, to me, sound therapy is a great one for this. Anything with a tuning fork, that will help move like my physical body energy, but also the ancestral DNA starts to be awakened. So I definitely recommend that if you have never tried it. But all this stuff can be beneficial as you honor. Maybe it's eating more intuitively, like eating well, but it's like eating intuitively is what that means. You know, for me, it was at the beginning of my whole awakening, it was like, oh, I feel like I need to eat vegetarian. Now, like, that's not at all an interest to me, but it just naturally started to happen, and I honored what my body was asking for, at least learning how to, because let's be honest, no one's an expert, and we do things, take things, ingest things that maybe that wasn't the best. For me, the psychedelic world was really great, plant medicine world, up until a few months ago where I attempted to go into a microdosing schedule and the mushroom was like, nope, you are done. And I had a major purge cleanse and I was like, okay, I don't need that anymore. I'm honoring what this vessel is craving, is wanting. So, hello everyone. I see questions here. Where are you? I am at the beach. It's a lovely little beach here in central Alberta. I'm not sure where you are. It's probably not anywhere near here, but if you see me, come and say hi, I guess. So the heart, the mind is the next kind of aspect I wanted to talk about. And, you know, when we go through awakening, it really is a way for us to heal our past. And this can be the scary part, right? Because I don't think anyone really wants to look at their past, look at their childhood wounds, look at their trauma wounds, look at their ancestral wounding, the family junk that somehow like followed us because of, you know. But this is all part of it, right? And so healing this trauma is part of that mind heart. To me, it's like really it's connected. Because we have certain beliefs, we have certain ways in which we view our world, and now it's happening within the spiritual awakening, right? You're awakening, like waking up. The lights go on. You start to see things. You can't unsee anything. You know, like in the Matrix movie where, I don't know the guy's name, but the one, oh, sorry, I don't want to spoil this for you, but one character is with the agents or whatever you want to call them. And he basically is just like, I wish I could go back into sleep mode. I wish I could go back and taste the juiciness of all the illusion that existed. That's kind of like, you know, sometimes I think during the journey you have those moments where you're like, can I just go back? Let me just pretend like none of this happened, that I can walk around my life in a way that I'm not conscious, because that's what we're doing here with the awakening, is we become conscious. We're sleeping beings who wake up. So you could, if you so want to, explore different types of mind, heart practices. To me, this is also the body work. This is the somatic stuff, the breath, right? Because it moves energy beyond where we have our logical mind in the front. We can start to move more in the back of the mind, the subconscious beliefs. But there are more scientific, Western approved methods of doing this, and that would be things like your therapy, right? Other practices like emotional freedom technique, the tapping, affirmations, working with these different types of coaching, explorative, mind and heart connection practices. Because if we don't do this when we wake up, you're going to just continually hit a wall, hit a wall, hit a wall, hit a wall. And in my personal experience, it just becomes more difficult. Things start to really blow up, right? And you might find your relationships start to really shift during this whole process. And that's completely normal. And I think I have a question about that, so I might save diving into that until then. So let's move on to the soul. So this waking of the soul, the connection to our divinity, and they say many traditions talk about the soul being in the heart. So you can just see how it keeps moving deeper and deeper and deeper. And these things don't happen in any particular order. It's just they occur however they're going to occur for you. But really, this soul experience of the waking up process to me is this identity with your purpose, with who you are, why it is that you're here, and what it is that you have to offer to humanity and to the world around you, okay? And this intuitiveness that starts to wake up can show up with, the different clairsentience I talked about. So clairaudience, being able to hear things that might be showing up. The clairvoyance, where you kind of just, you can know the things. The different senses from a physical standpoint, they also can show up in the energetic. So we have our 5 senses. I think there's probably even more ways. For me, I just really can feel the energy. I do sometimes hear things, though to me it's there's no difference between the hearing and the knowing. It's kind of like one and the same. But how I hear, because I'll say that I'm what I'm hearing right now is it does feel almost like a voice, but it's not. Sometimes it is like a different voice, but majority it's just this I see a sentence almost is how I want to describe it. But it's about you learning your way, okay? Your soul might start talking to you in all sorts of ways. If it's not in this physical world, it might be in the dream time. In the shamanic work, we talk about the dreamer, right? We have the stalker and the dreamer. The dreamer is that high self aspect that's dreaming the experiences, bringing things forth in both our awake dream, so the day-to-day walking around, and in our sleep dream. When we are fast asleep in this completely unbounded, at least we know or can perceive it as an unbounded space more easily. So your dreams might become more vivid. You might get really intense messages during the dream time. It's all just so dependent on the person. It's dependent on what your gifts are, those abilities that you're meant to tap into. And you're really encouraged to explore that. And I go through some of that stuff like dream work and things like that through journaling and different practices. You can check that out on the channel. So what about this questioning who you are? How many times have you come across those thoughts during any time in your life? And it can be really a shakeup, right? You're oh, I was going down this trajectory of my life, going to school, or I went into this relationship, everything seemed clear, and then all of a sudden it's not. That is part of the journey, okay? So how can you really just start to honor that? And instead of pushing away from the things that are showing up for you, the questions, really the benefit here is to greet it with more question. What am I supposed to know here? All right, what is it trying to show me? What happens if I were to let go and to surrender and trust this next direction of my life? Like when we come from question, it's in the Bible, ask and you shall receive, right? When you ask, the universe has to give you an answer. It has to give you a response in whatever way in which it does that. So, is it normal to question your beliefs? Is it normal to question your reality? To question your sense of self? Yes, all of that, right? This is part of that process of coming to yourself. And if you're not questioning, to me, I'm sorry, you're just like an NPC, you're a zombie walking around. And that's not a judgment. It's just like, okay, and then you just are living life the way majority of people are. But when you start to question, you're gonna start being looked at it like, so, well, so we believe this, but like, why? Like a kid, right? A kid's always asking, why? Because I said so. And it's like, well, is that really how you want to continue to live your life? Or do you want to live it beyond and recognize the power that you hold as a creator? And this, to me, the process of awakening has been the process of realizing that we all are these powerful creators of our reality. What you think becomes real, okay? Law of attraction, however you want to identify it. Like things you think, things you believe become your real, true experience. So with that being said, what is it that you're believing, okay? And what wants to shift for you, and what deeper purpose, what part of your like true will, as it's often referred to as. I'm not just talking like your purpose, like your job. It goes beyond that. Like, why are you here? What did you choose to be and do and share on this planet, right? What did you want to experience? Because all of this stuff was kind of highlighted before. Oh, hello, wasp. Oh, there's a wasp right here. Don't mind me if I freak out. Okay, so next question. Ooh, I really don't like those things. But what does that mean? Why is that showing up? That's interesting because there's certain people here I'm engaging with energetically and I'm picking up on that. So, some other ways in which you can kind of support some of this whole like soul awakening, this process, is to go even deeper than the body, if we could say it. I'm thinking like Akashic records, ancestral healing, deep energetic healing, ceremony, ritual, these parts that connect you to not just you as the like microcosmic being of your humanness. It moves you out into the macrocosmic, into the connection to the divine. And ceremony to me is like one of the best ways in which you can do that. So tuning into your gifts, taking courses, or learning more about what your soul's purpose is, ways in which you connect to your divinity, if it's different spiritual practices, whatever, all that stuff's going to be great for you and help you to form like yourself, to be aware of what it is that you are and how you want to show up. Okay, I'm not saying here join like a religious group just because, like, this is where the spiritual fluff, the spiritual bypassing can come into play. You need to choose for you what feels right for you. What is your truth? And that might look like a wide range of truths mixed all together. Okay. Follow your heart is something I wrote here. So the heart doesn't lie. It knows. Listen to what it's telling you, guiding you to. Oh, and with that, the next question I'd written, but I wasn't really going to talk too much, but it's like, why do relationships or interests start to change or like suddenly change when you go through this whole process of awakening? It's because, as I mentioned in the other video, it's like this concept of our energy, our frequency that we are operating at, okay? So if you were to think about your radio and you're driving in your car and okay, I'm going to listen to like 94.9 FM. There I put it to 94.9 FM. I know I'm going to get CKUA. That's the station that is set to that frequency. No other station's going to come through. because that is that frequency for that radio. It links. But if I go to 94.9 and I'm hoping to get to 102.9, which is like, I will just say it's up here because it's a higher number. It's like those two, they can't connect. So what happens in spiritual awakening is we're here, we've been vibrating at a level, and the things we engage with have also been there, right? That's why they are in our reality. We're at a match. We can see them, we can witness them, experience them. Relationships, people, the things that we like doing or watching on shows, music we like to listen to, our jobs, whatever. It's here. But as you start to elevate your awareness, your consciousness, you start to become aware that this body is an energetic body, that this world is like, you start to raise your vibration. And I don't like to think of it as like a higher number or raised is better or worse than a lower. It's just that it becomes different. It's different. It's two planes of existence in a way, two different places. So everything that was here with you is still there, but you're up here now and you can't meet. You just can't. So things start to fall away. For me, it was a marriage. I left the marriage. It just like spiritually, it was not connecting. And there are other things going on too, I guess. But really, to me, it was like, oh, like my heart's calling me to this thing. And if the people around me and the relationships don't brighten that and contribute to it in a positive way, still not spiritual bypassing, not refusing to look at the shadow parts of yourself, which can come with certain relationships. It's about recognizing, okay, what feels true for me? And we have to be okay to let go. I talk about surrender a bit here at one point, but that's a huge part of the process, you guys. So things might shift for you there. Can you be okay with it, right? And maybe I'll just jump to that. So the next question here is, what should you do if you feel completely lost or disconnected? Because sure, we're talking about like developing new ways of being and bringing in new beliefs, which some of these practices can help you with. But it's like, what if you just feel so disconnected and you're like, it really can feel like you are free falling through a void. In the occult sense, the magical path, we do have this whole idea of going through the abyss. And to me, this is part of that spiritual awakening. It's kind of like that dark night of the soul. It's like literally everything that you knew, your ego self starts to dissolve. And it's just you falling, not knowing where you're going, what you're doing, who you are. Did I say who you're doing? Because that was going to be my next thing. And hopefully you know who you're doing. But anyway, this call from spirit for you to be in the place of surrender and trust is like just so vital. And I mentioned some of those experiences of people going through like spiritual emergency and awakening that can be so intense. This is about balancing. How are you functioning? How are you showing up in your world? Are you able to even get by with your day-to-day needs being met? If all that stuff is like completely falling away, it might be time to get some external help, right? In 2005, I had what I would identify as like a spiritual depression, a dark night of the soul. It was like a very, when I look back to it, it was like very much led on by this call for me to listen to my heart, wanting to do certain things in my life and live my life in a particular way, but not having the courage to actually do that. I was just going with the whim of like what everyone was telling me to do. And I went through a deep, deep depression. Like that's the most depressed I'd ever been. It was horrible. And really, it was like it's a blur. I just remember being in my room and like things were happening all around, but I was not at all present. And looking back, I can say like with gratitude for that experience. But really what it was that helped me get out of that was a friend being like, hey, like something's going on with you. Maybe we should go see the doctor. And I went on medications, and those medications helped me to boost out of the physical aspect of that, like the poor sleep, the difficulty eating, those types of physiological things. So like I made that short the other week about like therapy being a waste of time. I definitely don't believe therapy can be a waste of time. I think it can be very helpful, and I've had benefits from seeing a therapist, from like just minor sorts of like supports with mind shifts, right? And then to like major like EMDR trauma therapy. Um, it can help people. Medications can help people, but it doesn't mean it needs to be our end all be all. And really, I do feel it's something spiritual that's often happening underlying, where people are not willing to face, not willing to surrender, trust. And willing is like a word, because I think we do have choice, but it's like, it's hard to. Let's be honest, it's hard. I'm not an expert at surrender and trust. Like every day, it's like a test. It's like, are we willing to learn? Okay. Are we willing to see and ask spirit, ask our guides, ask those supports around us, physical or non-physical, that can help? And everything can look different for everyone, right? Awakening itself. So what helps you again might not help someone else. Don't assume. Don't think everyone's going through the same thing as you. But just know that you don't have to go through it alone, okay? Join the community here if you are looking for that support, learning ways of which you can like navigate these experiences. If you want to do that work, dive deeper. Really, my work is to move beyond the spiritual fluff, that surface level healing, and really support people with alchemizing their shit into gold, facing shadows, turning the dark parts of self into this wholeness, like embracing it really, because that's, I think, what's lacking in humanity. Hi, Tahira. Hello. So with this, what are some other ways that you can kind of just tune into handling any increased sensitivity? Just start to know that whatever you're going through is a superpower. It can be something that you are going to turn into gold. You are experiencing it, so it can become something greater in your life. And any person who's gone through traumatic experiences, dark times, can tell you this, right? I think the best helpers, the best, most encouraging mentors and guides are those people who have gone through dark times and have learned to navigate it and then share their story. And that's something I'm hoping to do more of here, because it's like I've gone through so much stuff. And I've learned the things, the tools, the magical practices, the spiritual practices, and beyond. Things about how the universe operates behind the scenes. And I feel like I'm just really tuned in intuitively. And that's ever growing and expanding. But to me, it's like, okay, now how do I utilize this and share this and encourage others like yourselves to do that? So you're going to want to stay tuned. There's lots of stuff happening in this month of September coming up that's going to be around this conversation of spiritual awakening, tuning into your gifts, tuning into your intuitiveness, your ability to then go out into the world and really stand in your power and live your most magical life. Because we're not here to just be slaves, to just like, or enslaved, whatever political corrected word is. We're not here to just walk around like zombies and do whatever someone tells us to do. We are meant to gradually be part of this natural evolution of humanity. And that is why you're here. If you are watching this, even if you're questioning, like, is that me? If you're here, if you're coming to any part of this video, like, yeah, that's you. Because again, frequency, energy matching, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Ooh, that person's just zooming by. All these electric bike things are so cool to me. Okay, so what's the role of synchronicities? I don't see questions in the chat. Obviously, if there are any, I'm going to do a couple more here, and then I'm probably going to leave you with a question or two. But the role of synchronicities, downloads, sudden intuitions. I talked about these kind of gifts coming in. I think this is because many of you are folks who are here to help evolve humanity. So if you're seeing patterns in conversations and numbers and whatever, animals showing up all the time or at certain moments, all this stuff is happening. This world around us, like the guy just riding by on an electric bike with a shark backpack, I'm like, shark, you know? We don't have to name and list every time we see it, but it's something for me to keep in my mind's eye, in my awareness of, oh, okay. And there's science behind this, right? Is that the reticular activating system, when you say want a certain vehicle and you start researching about said vehicle, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that vehicle, right? We have this kind of like confirmation bias. Something starts to continually show up in our world. That's because our brains are like actually tuned to this way of being, right? But it's also because there's more to this world. And when they say in the occult sense, I think Crowley might have coined this term, is like seeing every situation, every pattern as a communication of God with your soul. Then there's so much more that starts to awaken for you. Nothing, can go by chance. It's not luck. It's just not a random situation. It's like, no, there's something more. Write it down in a journal. Keep track of these things that are happening. Trust. Don't doubt. That's why I usually don't even say it to anybody, right? It's like, for me now, I'm at a place where it's like, oh, if I'm getting an intuitive hit, like a download, it's like just all of a sudden a knowing. If the situation calls for it and the person's open to it, I will speak it. To me hosting these like lives, especially our intuitive card pulls on like the Mondays and stuff, people are coming there because they want to know something. So I'm going to tune into whatever's showing up for the most part. I might not share everything if I'm being told that, like, how do you word that? Maybe some things don't need to be said on live television. But this is part of the learning, and to follow the intuition, to get confirmations, and to me, hanging out with more people that share certain practices or ways of being has really helped, because it's like a good confirmation, right? If I get a message and it's being mirrored in other people in like a group, it's like, oh, okay, everyone else picked up on that. Cool. It helps confirm things. Okay, Tara, let's see. What's your question? How do we know when it's truly a sign or synchronicity? I feel like I see so much happening in terms of signs, but my 3D reality stays the same. Yeah. Oh, that's a great question, because like what I'm hearing with that is around this idea of time and our ability to be patient, because our timing is not God's timing. Even on the way here to like this beach today, we were driving and I could see on the GPS on the vehicle, it said like, you will arrive at 11:11. And I was like, oh, I got excited because I'm like, it's 11:11, that's cool. And then all of a sudden it changed to like 11:12. And I was like, oh, I'm like, maybe it didn't mean anything. Like this part of me that like loves that stuff. Like that's the fun. And then what happened? Someone drove by like in the left lane and their license plate was 11:11. And I was like, okay, that was the confirmation I needed. But the thing is that I want to say here is, not all synchronicity is like, it's not meant to be read into, to be like, oh, is this the path I'm taking? Yes or no. To me, it's I am on the path. It's a magical thing playing out in the world around me. And the bonus, and the most important part, is I am seeing it. Now, from this place of like knowing I am in flow because I am noticing it, what am I choosing? What do I want to choose next? Like, it's almost like I take it as like an energetic battery pack that wants to like help boost me forward. So that is how I would say like a true sign. Because the ego can be a huge thing. For a while, especially at the beginning, I was like getting a lot where I would see like license plates, and then based on the color of the license plate, if it was green or blue or red, it represented different archangels. Like, this is how much it was getting. And what I started noticing, my body was feeling like anxious. It was almost like trying to chase or find synchronicities or overreading. And I think we have to be careful with that, because it's like, there's people who what? Oh, the signs told me it was my twin flame, and they like stalk the person and then they go to jail. Like, I don't know about that. There's a police officer just walking behind me. Back in the day, well, even still, I would definitely say I see a lot of things with like first responders at like the perfect time. And here they are driving by, so it's funny. Anyways, so my answer to that question is, I guess, how does your body feel to hear when you see something? Do you feel light, vibrant, or does it feel like, oh my gosh? Because then, we can get a little bit like we need to get involved and make the things happen in our timing. But this surrender concept is great, and trusting there is no right or wrong place. And, thinking about the wheel, the hero's journey wheel, the wheel of life, and what I went through actually just not long ago, and I think I talked about this a few months back, I was like feeling like everything was kind of like dead. I had been in a place where things, it was like so expansive. I was in this like very magical place, and then all of a sudden, disconnect. It's like I didn't feel like there were any synchronicities. It was like I just felt like dead spiritually is how I would describe it. The last since like a very important ceremony I did last year, it was like just completely 180'd me. But then I was getting this intuitive knowing of like, this is just the quiet time. This is like the winter of the spiritual journey, the awakening. You went through the big 2016, yeah, great, this is awesome. And then it started shifting to like, but now I feel like, and I would describe how I was going through as like a waking up to the next level, being born again like a child into this world, which was part of that ceremony, I suppose. But, like the intention to start something new means we have to start from scratch. We have to be the child, the infant. And I'm starting to recognize now how things are opening again. So when we don't feel like we have those synchronicities showing up, don't chase for them. Just really tune in the body, tune into your womb, your intuitive space, the center of gravity, and just ask the questions like, what is my truth here? What is really wanting to show up in my life? And what does this mean? And then don't go clinging to answers. Let the universe show you the answers in whatever way it wants to make those things known. So I hope that answers that. For me, really tuning into like intuitive ways to connect to the intuition, and just again that encyclopedia of like, okay, I know this means this, this means this, and not beating myself up if I get it wrong. Like, oh, I thought, so many things in my life right now, it's like, oh, I thought I was supposed to do that. And then I'm like, oh, but if I was, then it would have gone smoother. But that's just me and my attachment to how things need to play out, right? Just trust the process. The Surrender Experiment is a great book. It's come to my mind now a couple times. It showed up in a video today someone else I was watching on YouTube mentioned, and I'm like, oh, Michael A. Singer's books. The first one was The Untethered Soul. That like was paramount at the beginning of my waking up. I mentioned that frequency book. That was like pre-waking up. Then this Untethered Soul really had great practices, I found. But then his other book, The Surrender Experiment, I think is a great example of how life takes you places and happens for you, even if you want something else or you think you know what you want. I definitely recommend that book if you can bear with his very like narcissistic way. But anyway, that's my views. He's confident. I've never met the guy. Maybe I'll interview him one day. That'd be cool. So my question for you. Question. What's the wildest or most confusing symptom that you've had? And I want you to just contemplate that, or experience, spiritual experience, ritualistic experience, whatever you want to call it, and contemplate on it. Write it out in your journal. Remember what it was. And just ask yourself, what did I take from that experience? What have I come to learn or gain from that? And like, how are you integrating it? And if you're not, or you haven't had these experiences, just ask, hey, what is that experience? Where is it kind of like calling for me to touch it, taste it, feel it, know it? And just putting that question out there is going to start to activate things for you. So I invite you to do that as we go through this next week. And yeah, like if any of this stuff is new to you, you know, I really encourage you to just keep following here, subscribe, tune in, and just trust that whatever is for you is going to make itself known to you. You can never miss it because the universe knows. The universe knows. You don't know. But you can just trust that your soul's bringing you to every moment, good and not so good, along your path, okay? So, from out here in the sunny, beachy front of Alberta, I thank you for tuning in. Yeah, you're welcome, Tahira. Thank you for your questions, for taking this and doing what you will. And if you want to dive deeper into any of this and have the support with alchemizing, transmuting these things, and going deeper on your spiritual path, I invite you to check out the links below. There's lots of different ways you can work with me. And let's see, what can we shift? So, until the next time, I'll see you guys. Yeah, I hear you, Tara. Sometimes we wish it could be faster, and then it's like, whoa, I can't hold on anymore. Slow down. But perhaps asking, where is it that I can go deeper on my journey and see what shows up? There's probably something you need to do or commit to. Don't let anything hold you back from doing it. Don't let money hold you back. Don't let whatever. Ooh, there's like a ton of birds. Maybe there's something you want to be free from. So, hi, Robin. Oh, I'm going off now. But yeah, I hope you can go back and watch the replay. Yeah, I wonder, Tahira, because yeah, there was just like a shit ton of birds. They're just kind of circling up there now. Everything happens, you guys. Anyways, like my witch hat. I'm gonna go and do my thing here, and until the next time, bye.